Hey everyone, it's Dr. Ramani. Welcome back to this YouTube channel on narcissism, with my hope that what you learn on this channel will help you keep yourself a little bit more safe, or at least a little bit more boundaried with the narcissistic people in your life. If you're new to this channel, please subscribe. And if in fact you're interested in healing, which I know a lot of folks going through these relationships are, there's a lot of healing content on this channel, but if you want to do a deeper dive, please do go to the video notes and hit that link. Join our healing program, which really does a monthly deep dive into sort of how to recover from these relationships. Now, this video actually is for just as much for folks who are narcissistic as people who are going through narcissistic abuse. I know most of the content on this channel is for people going through it, but I know people watch this channel saying, hey, I think this might be me. Great, okay, the recognition's the first big step. But in this video, we're going to be asking the question, because this comes up a lot with people, and this is probably more at the mild to low moderate end of narcissism, a person saying, okay, I did the work, I went to therapy, yeah, sure, I'm narcissistic, but I changed. Why is the person that I'm trying to make this relationship work with, why aren't they coming back? Now, like I said, this is a video for the narcissistic folks out there who really did and actually may have tried to and achieved some real change. Now, like I said, this video, unlike a lot of the content on this channel, is for narcissistic people, or let's call them narcissistic adjacent people, who feel like they've changed. They did the work. They went to therapy. They're engaging in the mindfulness. And yet they feel like I did all this, and this person still doesn't want to be in a relationship with me. So let's start here. Let's say you are willing to be self-aware and identify your narcissistic personality, which I'm going to say I do think it's commendable. It really is, because it's not easy to do. You go to therapy. You do the work. You're being more empathic. You do better with your anger. You do things you don't want to do sometimes, and you don't complain as much. You're being more mindful. Yeah, sometimes you slip, but definitely not like before. And even if you do slip, you actually apologize and mean it. You do all that, and the person you want things to work out with, the one you feel that you made all this change for, still wants to leave. It sucks, I know, because I know it is hard work for someone with a narcissistic personality to not only do the work, but maintain it. It's uncomfortable. It's easy to slip back when life gets stressful or frustrating or disappointing. I haven't seen lasting change for folks with narcissistic personalities happen much, but I recently was talking to someone I know has been a world-class narcissist. And in talking with him in our conversation, he said something incredibly insightful and self-aware. I was actually taken aback. The work he was doing in therapy was paying off. He's still a pain in the ass, but that insight showed me he's actually catching himself more. Maybe not enough, but more. And from a therapist's seat, that is progress. But I do see that for the folks around him, it may be too little, too late. And that's what he was sharing. You may think that if you have a narcissistic personality, well, what the hell's the damn point of making all of this change? It's been exhausting. There are days I can't be bothered. But I did the work and they want to leave. So maybe I shouldn't have gone through all of this in the first place. Was this really worth it? That's not true. It's good for you in the long run to have done this work, because it's good for you, right? That means there's still a chance of better friendships, better workplace relationships, maybe you can actually mend fences with other folks from your past. Maybe not, but also you might even make better family relationships. But what is most important to remember is that the person maybe you're trying to get back in with, they were hurt. They were really hurt. Perhaps by your betrayal or your gaslighting or your manipulation, and the self-doubt and the confusion and all the rest of the stuff they experienced did a number on them. And when they see you, they may really want to believe your change is real. They may even be rooting for you, but they have been so hurt that what they can't do is put themselves back in there with you again. Many times people with narcissistic personalities who do the work, who do get a little better, they become enraged when it doesn't work out, when their relationship doesn't come back the way they want. And that can actually make things worse. A narcissistic person may actually lash out, be stalky, launch smear campaigns, send angry text messages and emails. And that's only going to reinforce that other person's decision to not want to come back. Because welcome to what everyone who has ever experienced narcissistic abuse had to go through. Good old radical acceptance, right? The people who have been through narcissistic relationships, who have experienced the antagonism, have often been too hurt. They may have even become indifferent, because if you as a narcissistic person really have improved, then you should have learned how to regulate the disappointment around them not wanting to keep this relationship going. Yeah, I get it. I say again, it sucks. But the real change for a narcissistic person is manifested when they learn to weather this kind of loss, and then understanding that the next steps include grief and acceptance. Change can and should never be undertaken simply to get someone back into your life. We have to recognize that sometimes once we smash something, even if it gets glued back together, it still has cracks, or we can't find all of the pieces. Change is undertaken because if someone's patterns, they recognize their patterns as unhealthy, it is important to do it for the benefit of you and others in the world, not to get back something you want. Then it's just transactional, right? I suppose that means that when someone with a narcissistic personality does the work, it can't and it shouldn't be done with a specific outcome in mind. Again, that's transactional, but simply because it's the right thing to do for yourself and for the people around you. So if a narcissistic person really has done the work, whether that's you or someone else, really is consistently better regulated, consistently more empathic, consistently less entitled, then that person should not hoover, but instead go through the grief and move forward if the relationship they wanted to go back to still doesn't work out. And in the next relationship, the person who actually has really done the work to push back on a narcissistic personality ideally doesn't feel compelled to love bomb, but rather works on the empathy, the respect, and the compassion piece. All of it is going to feel foreign for sure, but trust me, it's good. It can be painful to recognize that a lost and wrecked relationship may not be resurrected, but sometimes things can be brought forward again. Some hurts can't be fixed, but that empathy means letting that go and allowing yourself to move forward. Suffering has no point unless we learn from it. The insecurity that is that foundational element of narcissism is often an issue here. A person will feel, oh, well, once again, here I am being abandoned, even when I try, so why should I even try? Because your self-worth isn't tied into just one relationship with one person. That a whole sense of self is about you, not about who you are with. A relationship is not about supply and transactions, but about reciprocity and mutuality. If you actually really are watching this, you're one of the people watching this channel, and you really think you have a narcissistic personality and are really doing the work on the daily to be better, better regulated, more empathic, please stay the course. Keep doing the work, because as hard as it may be, it's worth it. Because it may get you to a good place, in a good way, into a good relationship. If it helps, perhaps apologize to the person you hurt. Not because you think it will get you back into their good graces, but simply because it's the right thing to do. If you have a narcissistic personality and you really have made significant change, first of all, bravo. The kind of change, though, you made is hopefully something other people notice. And then that really makes you a unicorn, because you have to keep doing the work every day, and it will be worth it. Perhaps to your children or your family or your colleagues. Maybe it doesn't bring someone back, or the original someone you wanted to bring back, or a relationship back. But it may bring other folks back into your life in a new way and help you leave the world a little better than the way you left it. And what about if you are the one who was in the narcissistic relationship? You were the one who was not narcissistic, but instead experienced the gaslighting and the narcissistic abuse. What if they do change enough and you just feel like you can't go back? It's okay, because remember, this is a unicorn, and it's quite normal that you don't want to go back. Many people in this situation will feel quite a bit of guilt for this, that they've done something wrong because they aren't just whisking them back in and accepting the change. The fact is, sometimes you can't go back. When too many bad things have happened, too many pieces were smashed, too many bad things were said or done, you just can't go back, and that's okay. The mistake people make is that they do go back. They hold the resentments of the past. They can't let go. They feel the energy that really harmed them. And the narcissistic person has made some change, and the person hurt by them is always living and waiting for the other shoe to drop, and it really becomes a toxic dance. You don't owe them anything. You've been hurt enough. You went through something. And listen, if they did change a little, maybe your children are the ones who will benefit. Or if it's work, your former colleagues may be the ones who benefit. Or if it's extended family, maybe some of the family members you like will benefit. You know my stance on this. If you're going to walk away from one of these relationships, try and walk away with grace. Don't get into the mud with them. And if they changed to stay in a relationship with you, even if you feel you cannot stay in it, recognize that for what it is. But you need to also, if you were harmed by this, sometimes someone having changed, doesn't feel like it will unharm you. As you know, by and large, from a probability basis, most folks with these personality styles, the change is not sustainable or maintained for a long term. The first time a big frustration or disappointment or stress comes, the whole thing falls apart. We often get messages, I often get emails from folks who watch this channel and say, come on, Dr. Ramani, throw us a damn bone, throw the narcissist a bone and tell us, isn't there some possibility? It's always a tricky balancing act. Yeah, there is. I have worked with many narcissistic clients in my practice. There's been changes. There's been shifts in attachment. There has been some better regulation, often not enough to fix the hurts, and they come into therapy and get rage. Are you kidding me? I did these nice things. I'm like, you hurt him. You smashed him. Like you dropped the vase on the ground. It can't always be glued back together. The work is on the maintaining of it. So I have seen some shifts, but I've also seen in most of those cases it wasn't enough for the people who were hurt. So it is hard. If you're somebody who's willing to do the hard work, in some ways it is like pushing back on addiction. Ask any addict every day when they wake up. The hardest job they've got is staying sober. For anybody who's going to commit to changing, fixing, pushing back on a narcissistic personality style every single day, 24 hours a day, is about pushing back on that impulsivity and that lack of empathy. Actually get past that contempt, to not be so thin-skinned, to actually be present with other people. That's a big shift. And the majority of folks with these personalities not only would have the insight to recognize that this is who they are, definitely would not be able to make the change. So this is always that tough one, because I know for survivors they're like, well, Dr. Ramani, pick a lane. Can they change or can't they? Probability-wise, if you have 1,000 black marbles in a bucket and one red one, you're going to pull out one of the black ones. Probability is, nah, it's not going to change. But if you're somebody who has done the work, and you're somebody who actually has been narcissistically abused, you can't accept the change, I get it. And if somebody says, they won't take me back, and you're narcissistic and you did the work, it's sort of an acceptance piece. So this was a tough one. I understand it, but I'm hearing all your voices and trying to integrate that into these videos. Thanks again.